Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Terence Kwok.
Hi. Hello. My name is Terence Kwok. I'm the founder of Humanity Protocol. We're a relatively newer project. We started around a year and a half ago, launched our testnet back in October, have signed on around 4 million people for DIDs. And today I'm just talking about why digital identity is important, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. So I think, when it comes to digital identity and decentralized identity, it's probably one of the key use cases that people have been talking about since 2017, since the ICO days. Nobody's really been able to successfully execute on it. I think everybody, even in this cycle, everybody's just focused on meme coins. People sort of forget about some of the bigger ideas and bigger use cases for blockchain. But that's what we're here to try and solve. If we look at, some of the problems that we're experiencing right now with, bots, with scams, with fraud online, I think one of the biggest problems as artificial intelligence becomes more and more advanced is really the inability for us to differentiate what is a human being and what is not, right? You look at voice right now. With 11 labs, you can generate any voice you want, and it's pretty much impossible to tell. You look at deepfake videos, I think very soon, not distinguishable from the real thing. Content right now already, you look at Twitter, you look at social media, most of the stuff is already being generated by ChatGPT or DeepSeek. So I think one of the key things for us in terms of building trust is really being able to differentiate what is a human being online and what is not. I think the use cases are not just in the Web3 world, but also even in Web2. When you think about sort of online advertising, how advertising to AI agents or bots probably is not as valuable, at least for now, to advertising to humans, right? And so what we're doing with Humanity Protocol is we're building an identity-focused blockchain. And the way we think about it is that we want to bring a lot of different attributes about a human on-chain so that applications building on Humanity or other blockchains that we're connected with can leverage these credentials to be able to verify various things. To start, the very first attribute that we're verifying is whether you're a human being or not. And then down the road to potentially your education, where you work, your medical records, many different things in a privacy-preserving way. And the way we are doing the very first attribute for proof of humanity, we're leveraging biometrics. So there is a little bit similar to what WorldCoin is doing with the orbs, but instead of using something we consider to be pretty intrusive, we're actually leveraging the palm. So in the US, Amazon's already using palm prints for payments. In China, Tencent's using it for payments. What we've actually done was we developed over the last couple of years proprietary hardware and software for palm recognition. So everybody's palm, there are two components to it. There's the palm print, which is the surface level patterns and creases of your hand. And then there's also the palm veins, which is sort of the blood vessels that are underneath your skin. And so leveraging proprietary hardware and software, we're essentially able to recognize just with the palm patterns every one of the 8 billion people in the world. Okay, and so without having to actually scan your eyeball or scan your face, we can actually do proof of personhood directly just with palm-based biometrics. I'm going to move on. Yeah, so, sorry, just now this... Yeah, so you can see like some of these devices, we've actually started rolling them out globally in various pop-ups. There are a couple of devices at our booth. It's actually next to the ICP booth. So for those of you who want to try it out, you can absolutely go and onboard to testnet. And then over the next couple of months, we're setting up a bunch of operators, stations to implement these around the world. And I think one of the key things that is also special about using palm-based biometrics instead of your iris or your face or whatnot is it actually opens up a lot of different possibilities in terms of real-world and offline use cases where we can abstract away the blockchain component. What I mean by that is, we actually also already started installing some of these devices in hospitals in Hong Kong, where it essentially serves as access control for doctors. We are implementing different integrations so that this potentially could become a payment app where you can just scan your hand and you can pay with crypto. For ticketing, again, tying it into a Luma event or a QR code so that directly just using your palm you can actually access events. Yeah, and so the way we think about it is that ultimately, when it comes to digital identity, it needs to be privacy preserving. What I mean by that is when you are accessing applications online, whether it's in the DeFi world or now there's tokenization, RWA platforms, et cetera, a lot of these platforms are asking you to do a full KYC where you're submitting your passport, your address proofs, et cetera, all that sort of stuff. I think to a large extent, what we're trying to do is say, you know what, we want to create reusable credentials directly on chain so that you don't have to go do that all, multiple times a day. And more importantly, you're only sharing the information that is necessary. So for example, a DeFi protocol might actually just want to make sure you're not sanctioned. Or an RWA platform wants to issue tokenized T-bills, and so they actually kind of just want to know that you're an accredited investor with a high enough net worth, so you don't actually have to reveal everything else to the platform. Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things that differentiates us between Humanity Protocol and other sort of identity projects or decentralized ID projects in the space is how we actually leverage something we call identity validators. And I think historically, you look at identity, it's either heavily centralized, controlled by Web2 companies, controlled by big conglomerates, they own all the data, you have no control over it. Or there are essentially identity projects that are very focused on making everything completely decentralized, completely open, permissionless. I think in order for there to actually be adoption, there needs to be a healthy balance. And so what we're actually doing is we're creating this role called identity validators on Humanity Protocol. And how it works is essentially different sort of entities would be able to verify things about you, and all that data would never be placed on chain. The credential would be placed on chain. So for example, right now, if and it's happened to me multiple times already, people reaching out to me on LinkedIn saying that they work for this company or they went to school, or people reaching out to me on Telegram pretending to be somebody. What we're doing is essentially creating infrastructure and creating a network so that different identity validators can come on board and verify things. For example, we are striking partnerships with universities to issue all their student transcripts and graduation records directly onto Humanity, so that you could easily share it to your new employer or to your grad school where you actually did your undergrad, right? Or even employment records. The idea is that have a company say, these are all the people that have worked for me in the past, these are my current employees, and so when this person actually needs to find a new job, the new employer doesn't have to call up the company, get HR, produce records, and do all sorts of stuff. Same with sort of compensation records. And down the road, the whole idea for us is to make this essentially a blockchain where any identity validator that wants to prove anything can come on board, allowing applications, whether on Humanity or other blockchains, to be able to leverage these credentials. Yeah, and I think, even just in the realm of, Web3, I think proof of personhood along with credentialing is going to be super important. I think historically, in the last couple of years, people have been thinking that blockchain needs more adoption. All of us think that blockchain needs more adoption, but I think people think that the hindrance to that has historically been, expensive transaction fees or not fast enough TPSs. The way we actually think about this is that in a world where blockchains actually have a lot of adoption, the fact that all blockchains are permissionless and anybody can create as many blockchain addresses and accounts as they want, it's actually going to wreak havoc in the sense that it doesn't really matter what your TPS is. If there are financial incentives, there are rewards, people are going to bot the shit out of it anyways. So the way we actually think about it is that there needs to be some sort of credentialing so that there could be potentially prioritized transactions, or there could even be permission transactions. In the sense that for us, what we're trying to do is say, okay, you know what, maybe there are dApps that only allow for human beings to use. Or there might even be DAOs that say, you know what, it's gated by people that have university degrees. So the way we look at this is that having credentialing on chain opens up a wide range of use cases that probably a lot of us have not thought about. And if there is actual adoption, wider adoption of blockchain applications is heavily needed. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we've launched our testnet. The testnet, you can scan the QR code and join it. It's testnet.humanity.org. We've signed up, I think just today, we're going to be crossing 4 million people around the world. And what we're trying to do is start with proof of humanity and then add on many different sorts of credentials into humanity so that we have an on-chain environment where we can trust and hopefully reduce scams, hacks, issues, and that's us. The QR code did not. Sorry, the QR code's not working. Well, my guy here. I need to find a new head of marketing now. So if that's not working, it's just testnet.humanity.org. And we've actually created a pretty innovative system to gamify this. That's how we kind of organically got a good couple million people signing up. So if you go and you sign up, you can obviously use a non-custodial wallet, or we actually use Web3 Auth to create sort of social logins, a simple onboarding process for people. If you sign up, it will ask you for a referrer, and the referrer you can use is just T, single letter T. And what we've done was we actually gamified it, so we actually got a lot of people to refer their friends, obviously in anticipation for potential rewards, airdrops, et cetera, et cetera. I think one thing that we also didn't have on this slides is we're actually be launching a product, our very first product, targeted at the Web3 industry very soon. It's called Fairdrops. So fairdrops.com, and we're starting to partner with projects that are launching tokens over the coming months to help them verify and to help them verify that people are actually claiming their airdrops are not farmers or civils. So I think that's probably it for me. I still have a good couple minutes. In case anybody has questions, comments, feel free to ask. But otherwise, I think I'm probably ahead of time. Yeah. So we're in EVML2. We are actually heavily modifying the Arbitrum Orbit stack. And the reason I think a lot of the identity projects are positioning themselves as sort of either an oracle or as sort of an application layer, but we decided to actually have our own chain for a couple reasons. Number one is we sort of want a home for the credentials and for us to be able to natively transact on there. And then the other thing is, working with sort of cross-chain solutions, layer 0 and direct integrations on other blockchains, the whole idea is that a single human ID will actually allow you to incorporate multiple different types of addresses, potentially even an SVM address or any other blockchain, so that these credentials can also be used on applications built on other chains. So maybe there's a better version of pump.fun that actually says, you know what, every human can only buy up to X% of the initial supply when the token launches, right? So there are a lot of these use cases that we haven't explored yet, but I think will be very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so the way the identity validators work is that we actually don't store the information. So if Harvard wants to say that, Harvard as an identity validator wants to say that you went to Harvard, Harvard is keeping whatever information they have and they're issuing a credential on chain. Okay, so there's that. When it comes to the biometrics piece, we are technically, the foundation is technically the identity validator for that. And the way it works is that we are actually not storing any sort of raw data. We're taking the patterns, turning into a biometric signature, and then comparing the hashes. No more questions? Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for having me, guys. Hope you guys have fun in Denver.